Tawba. Surah al-Tawba starts from Bara'ah, the word, the first word. It doesn't start from Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. It's the only surah in the Quran because this was the way of the Prophet ﷺ that we inherited Quran from him. He would not recite Bismillah only in this surah. And there are many reasons the Mufassirin, the scholars, give why there is no Bismillah written and recited just before the surah. As we know, Brother Noor recited yesterday without pausing for Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. And one of the reasons is because our beloved Prophet ﷺ did not recite with Bismillah. So this is the way we follow in his footsteps. Another name for Surah al-Tawba is Surah al-Bara'ah, or Bara'ah, which comes from release, letting something go. And that is the promise that Allah, or the covenant that the mushrikeen had with the Muslims. And this is the release of the promise, meaning it's no longer the pledge that Muslims made with them is no longer valid. If they're given 4 months, and after that, they're told to accept Islam or go to war or have jihad with the Prophet ﷺ. Now here, this is very specifically mentioned to the Prophet ﷺ, as we know, that this permission that was granted was only for the Prophet ﷺ, and only in Arabia that this happened, especially the city of Mecca. The surah starts talking about the campaign of Tabuk. Tabuk was the Ghazwa when the Prophet ﷺ is going to go after the Treaty of Hudaybiyah. He's going to go up north, almost all the way up to Jerusalem or Syria. And this is where he would take all of the companions. And it was time when it was really hot. And it was time when people were ready to farm and harvest. But the Prophet ﷺ, and the command from Allah was, leave your farm fields, leave your homes. In the summertime, hot, without ACs, you're going to walk up and march up with the beloved Prophet of God ﷺ. And this was a test of faith. And many of the hypocrites, those people who said, yes, we're Muslims, right? When it came to enjoying the good things, the spoils and the war and my share and your share and his share and her share, right? They were Muslim then. But when it came to do anything for Islam, then they became clear hypocrites. But amongst these group who stayed behind, they would come back to the Prophet and find excuses. And the Prophet ﷺ, he would excuse them. He wouldn't really listen. If you are honest, if you're truthful, your case is with God. He wasn't going out there chasing people. But then there were 3 people specifically that the Surah al-Tawba talks about as well, towards the end. And these were people who were honest and they were good Muslims. But yet they stayed behind because of some sort of laziness within them. And a lot of times we also find this laziness that gets to us. And after they were actually kept away from the community for 40, 50 days, then the Prophet ﷺ and the community would interact with them. And the reason for this is I was just providing comic relief in the middle. The reason, and I'm going to have my 30 seconds back, is that okay? Because Murad usually gives me an out for cricket. He says 1 last minute, and then you're out. So that's how I know my time. So one of the reasons was that these were people who had good intentions, these 3 people. And we should read about these people. And in the life of the Prophet ﷺ, the Prophet ﷺ, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told him, it's not in the Quran, but the Prophet ﷺ was told that you're not allowed to talk with them. Because these are people who disobeyed Allah's command. It was a big thing. Everybody's putting their lives on the line, and these are Muslims who are sitting at home, worried about their own things, or being lazy with their faith. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to teach believers that when it comes to sacrifice, this is the measurement of your Islam. Everybody says, where do I stand in regards to my relationship with Allah? If you would like to know, just wait till the adhan that comes in for Fajr prayer. And you'll know where you stand. Right? You'll know where you stand in relationship with Allah when it's time for Isha prayer. Right? Where do you stand? Right? And then your spouse says something really nasty and then you want to give them back something nasty, and then he's saying, subhanAllah, I don't want to reply back because it's Allah who's watching me. It's not my dealings with her, it's my dealings with Allah. Right? Very different case, very different attitude. So they were forgiven at the end of it, but the Muslims are taught that when you're given responsibility, you should fulfill your responsibility. And Muslims are taught that Islam is not something of a joke. It's not, oh yes, if I wish I could do it. If I don't, Allah is Ghafurur Rahim. He's Ghafurur Rahim, but He's also Shadidul Adhab. He's severe in punishment. All throughout the Quran you will see that. And one of the reasons why the Prophet wouldn't say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, because these are the ayat that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He was angry with the mushrikeen, with the hypocrites, and with the munafiqeen, and with the people who had pagan beliefs. Now, the last thing that I want to mention, inshallah, is the ayah. So, this ayah gives a commentary before Ghazwa Tabuk, and then after what happened with the Ghazwa and the Muslims returned. The last thing that I want to mention are the last two ayat. And I want you to just pay attention to the meaning, inshallah. لَقَدْ جَاءَكُمْ رَسُولٌ مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ عَزِيزٌ عَلَيْهِ مَا عَنِتُّمْ. A messenger has come forth from amongst you, meaning he's just a human being just like you. To him it's dear, harisun alaykum. It's dear to him that you are not harmed in any way. Harisun alaykum. He's really careful or worried about you. Bil mu'minina ra'ufur rahim. For believers, he's Ra'uf. Ra'uf is one of the names of Allah. And Rahim, it's also another name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that shows a compassion and mercy. Those two names, that's all they need. If you could think of your relationship with your mother and how merciful and how compassionate she is to you, then think of this phrase times a million with the Prophet of God sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ra'uf or Rahim. This is how our relationship with our beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is. But the last ayah, pay attention Muslims, the last ayah in the Quran al-Sharif, right? فَإِن تَوَلَّوْا. But if they turn away, or if you turn away, فَقُلْ. So the Prophet say to them, حَسْبِيَ اللَّهُ. God is sufficient. لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا هُ. There is no one worthy of worship except He. عَلَيْهِ تَوَكَّلْ. Meaning the Prophet is saying, I will rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَهُوَ رَبُّ الْعَرْشِ الْعَظِيمِ. And He is the Lord of the mighty throne. Meaning the Prophet of God and Islam does not need you. It's in your best interest, Muslims, that you seek Allah and follow His messenger. And that's all these ayat are saying. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us amongst those people who are serious about our religion, who are serious about this book of God, that we pay attention to it, we learn it, we understand it, and we practice it, and then also we take it to people who also may perhaps not understand or don't know about this, and teach them about this book. وَأَقُولُ قَوْلِي هَذَا وَأَسْتَغْفِرُ اللَّهَ لِي وَلَكُمْ وَلِسَائِرِ الْمُسْلِمِينَ وَالْمُسْلِمَاتِ.